It was the early 1980s, and the arcade scene was booming. Neon lights flickered, the cacophony of electronic beeps and boops filled the air, and kids lined up with pockets full of quarters to play the latest games. But amidst the chaos of Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and Donkey Kong, whispers began to spread about something darker, a game unlike any other. A game that didn't just entertain, but changed people. Its name was Polybius. The first sightings of Polybius were reported in a handful of arcades in Portland, Oregon. Witnesses described the cabinet as sleek and unmarked, with no company logo or credits. The screen displayed hypnotic, swirling visuals, geometric patterns, and pulsating colors that seemed to draw players in. But it wasn't just the graphics that were unusual. Those who played it claimed the game had an almost otherworldly effect on them. Some reported feeling dizzy or nauseous after just a few minutes. Others said they experienced vivid nightmares or couldn't remember what had happened while they were playing. A few even claimed they became obsessed, returning to the arcade day after day, unable to think about anything else. Then there were the men in black. According to some accounts, mysterious figures would occasionally appear at the arcades where Polybius was located. They wore suits and carried clipboards, and they seemed more interested in observing the players than maintaining the machines. Some said these men would collect data from the game, jotting down notes before disappearing as quietly as they arrived. Others claimed the game itself would vanish overnight, only to reappear weeks later in a different location. The rumors grew wilder with each retelling. Was Polybius a government experiment, a tool for mind control, or perhaps something even more sinister? The game's name added to the intrigue. Polybius was a Greek historian known for his work on cryptography and secret codes, leading some to speculate that the game was a cipher for something far more complex. But for all the stories, no one could say for sure where the game had come from, or where it went. As quickly as it appeared, Polybius seemed to vanish from the arcades. By the mid-1980s, the game was gone, leaving behind only fragmented memories and a growing legend. Those who had played it struggled to recall the details, as if the game itself had erased their thoughts. The few who claimed to have seen the cabinet described it in vague terms. Their stories often contradicted one another. Was it black with a blue logo, or silver with no markings at all? The lack of consistency only deepened the mystery. Over the years, the legend of Polybius took on a life of its own. It became a cautionary tale, a ghost story for the digital age. Gamers swapped stories online, piecing together fragments of information in an attempt to uncover the truth. But the more they searched, the more elusive the answers became. Was Polybius a real game, or just an urban legend born from the collective imagination of a generation raised on video games and Cold War paranoia? This chapter sets the stage for the mystery of Polybius, exploring the origins of the legend and the eerie accounts that have kept it alive for decades. As we delve deeper into the story, one question lingers. Could a game with such a strange and unsettling history have truly existed? Or is the mystery of Polybius itself the real game? The legend of Polybius is tantalizing, but the question remains: was it real? For decades, gamers, historians, and conspiracy theorists have scoured records, interviewed witnesses, and dug through archives in search of proof. Yet, despite their efforts, no concrete evidence of the game's existence has ever been found. This chapter delves into the hunt for Polybius, exploring the tantalizing clues, dead ends, and enduring questions that keep the mystery alive. The first challenge in verifying Polybius is the lack of physical evidence. No arcade cabinet bearing the name has ever been recovered, and no photographs or schematics of the game have surfaced. This absence is unusual for the era, as even obscure or failed arcade games typically left behind some trace: a manual, a flyer, or a mention in a trade magazine. But for Polybius, there is nothing. This has led some to argue that the game was never more than an urban legend, a story concocted to explain strange occurrences or to add an air of mystery to the arcade scene. However, not everyone is convinced. Some researchers point to the sheer number of eyewitness accounts as evidence that Polybius was real. These accounts, while often inconsistent, share enough similarities to suggest a common origin. For example, many witnesses describe the game's visuals as hypnotic, with swirling patterns and bright, pulsating colors. Others recall the strange behavior of the men in black who allegedly monitored the game. Could these details be mere coincidences, or do they point to something more? One theory is that Polybius was a prototype or experimental game that was never widely released. During the early 1980s, the video game industry was booming, and developers were constantly experimenting with new technologies and ideas. It's possible that Polybius was one such experiment, designed to test the limits of player engagement or to explore the psychological effects of certain visual and auditory stimuli. If so, the game may have been pulled from circulation after causing unintended side effects, leaving behind only rumors and speculation. Another possibility is that Polybius was part of a government or corporate project. The Cold War era was a time of heightened paranoia, and both the U.S. government and private companies were known to conduct experiments on human behavior. Some have speculated that Polybius was a tool for mind control or behavior modification, developed as part of a larger program. This theory is bolstered by the accounts of the men in black, who some believe were collecting data on the game's effects. However, without concrete evidence, this remains purely speculative. The search for Polybius has also been complicated by hoaxes and misinformation. Over the years, several individuals have claimed to possess a Polybius cabinet or to have worked on the game, only for their stories to fall apart under scrutiny. In one notable case, a man claimed to have found a Polybius machine in his basement, but the cabinet turned out to be a custom-built replica. These hoaxes have made it even harder to separate fact from fiction, as they muddy the waters and cast doubt on legitimate leads. Despite these challenges, the search for Polybius continues. Online communities dedicated to the mystery have sprung up, with members sharing theories, analyzing old arcade records, and even attempting to recreate the game based on witness descriptions. These efforts have yet to yield definitive proof, but they keep the legend alive, ensuring that Polybius remains a topic of fascination and debate. As we delve deeper into the mystery, one thing becomes clear. The search for Polybius is about more than just finding a lost video game. It's about uncovering a piece of history, exploring the boundaries of human perception, and confronting the allure of the unknown. Whether Polybius was real or not, its legend endures, a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring mystery of the arcade era. The legend of Polybius takes a darker turn when we consider its alleged connection to psychological experiments and government conspiracies. This chapter explores the tantalizing possibility that the game was more than just an arcade curiosity. It was a tool for manipulating human behavior, developed in the shadows of Cold War-era paranoia. Could Polybius have been part of a clandestine project? Or is this just another layer of myth surrounding the game? The 1980s were a time of intense interest in the human mind, particularly in how it could be influenced or controlled. Governments and private organizations were conducting experiments to explore the limits of perception, memory, and decision-making. The CIA's infamous MK-Ultra program, which aimed to develop mind control techniques, had officially ended in the 1970s, but its legacy loomed large. Could Polybius have been a continuation of such efforts, repurposed for the digital age? One theory suggests that Polybius was designed to test the effects of subliminal messaging and rapid visual stimulation. Witnesses describe the game's graphics as hypnotic, with swirling patterns and flashing colors that seem to bypass conscious thought. These elements align with known techniques used in psychological experiments to induce altered states of consciousness or implant suggestions. If true, Polybius may have been a way to study how video games could influence behavior, perhaps even creating addiction or compliance in players. The presence of the Men in Black adds another layer of intrigue. Witnesses claimed these mysterious figures would observe players, take notes, and sometimes even confiscate the machines. Were they scientists collecting data? Government agents monitoring an experiment, or simply arcade technicians whose mundane tasks were misinterpreted as something more sinister? The lack of concrete evidence makes it difficult to say, but the stories have fueled speculation for decades. Another angle to consider is the role of corporations in the Polybius mystery. The early 1980s saw fierce competition in the video game industry, with companies racing to develop the next big hit. Some have theorized that Polybius was a corporate experiment gone wrong, a game designed to push the boundaries of player engagement but abandoned after causing unintended side effects. This theory is supported by the fact that many early video games were developed with little regard for their psychological impact. Games like Berserk and Tempest were known to cause dizziness and nausea in some players, raising questions about the ethics of game design at the time. Yet, the most compelling aspect of the Polybius conspiracy is its timing. The early 1980s were a period of heightened fear and suspicion, with the Cold War at its peak and concerns about government surveillance on the rise. The idea that a video game could be used as a tool for mind control tapped into these anxieties, creating a perfect storm of paranoia and fascination. It's no wonder that the legend of Polybius has endured, as it reflects the fears and uncertainties of its era. But is there any evidence to support these theories? Thus far, no government documents or corporate records have been found that mention Polybius. However, the absence of evidence doesn't necessarily disprove the claims. Many Cold War-era projects were classified, and records may have been destroyed or remain hidden. Alternatively, Polybius could have been a small-scale experiment, conducted without official oversight or documentation. As we explore the possibility of Polybius as a psychological experiment or government project, we must also consider the role of human imagination. The legend thrives on the unknown, filling in gaps with speculation and conjecture. Whether or not Polybius was real, its story serves as a reminder of the power of technology to influence our minds, and the ethical questions that arise when that power is misused. This chapter leaves us with more questions than answers, but that's the nature of the Polybius mystery. As we move into Chapter 4, we'll examine how the legend has shaped popular culture and why it continues to captivate us, even decades after its supposed disappearance. Even if Polybius never existed as a physical arcade game, its impact on popular culture is undeniable. The legend has transcended its origins, becoming a symbol of mystery, fear and fascination in the digital age. This chapter explores how Polybius has permeated movies, TV shows, video games, and online communities, cementing its place as one of the most enduring urban legends of all time. The story of Polybius first gained widespread attention in the early 2000s thanks to the internet. Online forums and message boards became breeding grounds for speculation, with users sharing their own theories, sightings, and even attempts to recreate the game. The anonymity of the internet allowed the legend to grow, as people added their own twists and details to the story. Soon, Polybius became a staple of online horror and conspiracy communities, a digital age myth that felt both timeless and eerily relevant. One of the most significant moments in Polybius's cultural journey came in 2006, when the game was featured in an episode of The Simpsons. In the episode, "Please Homer, Don't Hammer 'em," Bart discovers a mysterious arcade cabinet that causes strange behavior in players. The game is never explicitly named as Polybius, but the parallels are unmistakable. Hypnotic visuals, government agents, and a sense of impending doom. The episode introduced the legend to a mainstream audience, ensuring that Polybius would remain a topic of discussion for years to come. The gaming industry itself has also embraced the Polybius myth. In 2017, developer Jeff Minter released a game titled Polybius, inspired by the legend. While not a recreation of the supposed original, Minter's game captures the spirit of the myth with its trippy visuals and fast-paced gameplay. Other games, such as The Secret of Polybius and Polybius Reborn, have also attempted to bring the legend to life, each adding its own interpretation of what the original game might have been like. Beyond gaming, Polybius has inspired documentaries, podcasts, and even academic studies. Filmmakers and researchers have explored the psychological and cultural implications of the legend, asking why it resonates so deeply with people. Some argue that Polybius taps into our collective fear of technology and its potential to control or harm us. Others see it as a reflection of nostalgia for the arcade era, a time when video games were still new and mysterious. Whatever the reason, the legend continues to captivate audiences, proving that some mysteries are more powerful when left unsolved. The enduring appeal of Polybius also lies in its adaptability. The story can be molded to fit different narratives, whether it's a cautionary tale about government surveillance, a psychological thriller about the dangers of addiction, or a nostalgic ode to the golden age of arcades. This versatility has allowed Polybius to remain relevant, even as technology and culture have evolved. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Polybius's legacy is its ability to blur the line between fact and fiction. For every person who dismisses the legend as a hoax, there's another who believes it could be real. This tension between skepticism and belief is what makes Polybius so compelling. It's a story that invites us to question what we know, to explore the boundaries of reality, and to embrace the unknown. As we conclude our exploration of Polybius, one thing is clear. The legend is far more than just a story about a video game. It's a reflection of our fears, our curiosity, and our fascination with the mysteries of the past. Whether or not Polybius ever existed, its legacy endures, a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring allure of the arcade era.